This is a stock valuation for Peachtree Securities, Case B, prepared for Dr. Shiroki by Carrie Barclay. To find the nominal expected rate of return on the investment, the first thing that needs to be calculated is the dividend for the quarter. This can be found by multiplying the par value of $100 by the cumulative dividend of 4.32%. Then divide the $4.32 dividend by the current share price of $48 to get the expected nominal rate of return, which is 9%. To find the effective annual rate of return, you must use the equation shown. The nominal rate was found previously, and n is the number of periods, which is 4 since the dividends are issued quarterly. The effective annual rate of return comes out to be 9.31%. To find the value per share for the Series F, you must find the present value of the future cash flows. To do this, you must first find the shares outstanding for each year. Once you have calculated this, the cumulative dividend is calculated by multiplying the par value by the 9.75% to get the cumulative dividends paid per share outstanding, which equates to $9.75. Next, the total interest payment for the period is computed by multiplying the cumulative dividend paid per share by the shares outstanding for each of the 5 years. Then the cost of the shares redeemed is calculated by multiplying the par value by the redeemed shares of 60 grand per year. Then, to find the total payment for each period, you add the redeemed shares to the total interest payment for each year. After, you must discount the total payment by using the nominal required rate of return given, which was 8%. Finally, after you add up all of the discounted totals for the 5 years, you will divide that total by the outstanding shares for the first year to calculate the preferred share price, which equates to $104.41. To calculate the expected rate of return, the equation shown is used. First, you must calculate the dividend for the next period by multiplying 1.8 by 1 plus the growth rate, which is 6%, to give you a dividend of 1.908. Then you can use that dividend for the expected rate of return equation, where you divide 1.908 by the price, which is 22.26, then add the growth rate of 6%, which gives the expected rate of return for the beginning of 1992, 14.09%. The dividend yield is the dividend divided by the current price of the stock, which as shown equals 8.09%. Then, to compute the capital gains yield, you must first find the price for the end of 1992. This is done by multiplying the current price by the growth rate, then adding that back to the current price. Once that is computed, you plug it into the capital gains yield equation, which will equal 6%. Under constant growth assumptions, the relationship between the dividend yield and the capital gains yield should remain the same. This is due to the fact that they have the same expected growth rate. The company's growth of their stock and profitability must be constant for the constant growth or Gordon model to be useful. Some conditions include issuance of dividends, the company's perpetual growth rate, and sales and revenues, which all must grow according to the constant growth rate. There are not many real-world stocks that satisfy the constant growth assumptions. This is due to the fact that accurately defining these assumptions would be a hard task, if not nearly impossible, especially for smaller and newer companies that have not had constant growth over a long period of time. The annual dividend of each year must be calculated using the 6% dividend growth rate for the first 5 years, and then the 7.5% growth rate after those 5 years. The table shows these calculations. The annual dividends are then added up and divided by the required rate of return minus the average growth rate given. Then you add the year 5 dividend to the year 5 price, which gives you the total cash flow for year 5. To calculate the value of stock on January 1st, 1992, you must first find the present value of all future cash flows. To compute this, the equation used is the dividend divided by 1 plus the required rate of return raised to the number of periods. The table above shows the present value of all future cash flows using the equation I just spoke of. The sum of the future cash values gives you the price of the stock on January 1st, 1992, which shows that the stock is undervalued due to the fact that the current price is $22.26. To find the expected stock price for the end of 1992 and 1993, the same method is used as in the previous slide. If equilibrium is assumed, the stock price at the end of 1992 will be $32.46. The stock price for the end of 1993 will be $38.82. To find the dividend yield for 1992, you must use the equation shown, which is 1.91 divided by the price of the stock, which is $30.28 that was calculated on the previous slide. The dividend yield for 1992 ends up equaling 6.3%. To find the capital gains yield, you use the end price of $32.46, which was also calculated on the previous slide, and subtract that from the beginning price and divide that from the beginning price. This gives you a capital gains yield of 7.2%. The total return for 1992 is calculated by the sum of the dividend yield and the capital gains yield. This gives you a total of 13.5%. To find the stock price, you must calculate the annual dividends for each year, taking into consideration the conditions given in the question. You then find the price of the stock by adding up all of the dividends, then adding the year 5 dividend, which equals $27.27. This is the same approach used previously. Then you have to calculate the present value of the future cash flows that were found in the table labeled dividends. The sum of these future cash flows gives you the stock price, which is lower as assumed since the future cash flows have decreased. The full year dividends were given by the value line information. The growth rate each year must be calculated next. Once you find the growth rate for each year, you add up the growth rates throughout the years and divide by 3. This gives you the average growth rate of 6.69% as shown. The assumed 6% growth rate given is not reasonable. If you look at the annual growth rates for the past 10 and 5 years given, you see that they have declined from 7.5% to 6.5%. As shown in the table, the growth rates are declining as well. They are declining each year by about 0.4%. With that being said, the assumed 6% growth rate would be too high, since the trend of their growth rates are decreasing. To calculate the growth, you must multiply the return on equity by the retention ratio. To calculate the average growth rate for years 1989 through 1993, you take the sum of the highlighted growth rates and divide the sum by 5, which leads to the average growth rate 5.04%. The calculations shown in the table show that the estimated 7.5% growth rate is not supported. The estimated growth rate for 1995 through 1997 is even higher than the average growth rate for the years prior. You will also notice that the growth rates are decreasing each year, which would make the average growth rate for the years even lower if the growth rate continues to follow this trend. I do not think that the figures given could be used to develop an estimated long-run sustainable growth rate. This is due to the fact that for the past 10 years and the past 5 years, the average annual growth rate has decreased. Then shown in this table, the average growth rate for the years 1989 through 1993 is even lower at 5.04%.